There's never been more chemicals. There's never been more exposure to different modalities, Wi-Fi, electricity, radiation. Our great-grandparents, 0.000, we're talking minuscules. Us, trillion-fold higher. How's that going to impact our health? And then not even to mention what's in the food, what's in our detergents, and who actually has it the worst from experience here are construction workers. People that are working in construction are subject to some of the most ridiculous, call it, diversity of chemicals that get absorbed through the skin. And usually they come in like hydrofluoro compounds. And so they're constantly being bombarded. So we are in a stage where I would say people are getting very aware to the state of our health. And we're technologically advanced civilization, but biologically we're destroying ourselves.
Well, you made a couple points earlier that maybe these are connected. One of them was developing a healthy relationship with food, and we'll talk about that just a little bit. But the other one that struck me was protecting DNA. And it feels like as we're thinking about all the things we're exposed to, that we may be in a position where our DNA is being bombarded by a bunch of different things that may be having an effect on our overall health and lifespan. So can you talk about that piece just a little bit more? Because I think that construction piece is important. I mean, I think about our clothing. I think about all of the technology we use, the things that we eat, how things are preserved. It's great because it's allowed us to do a bunch of things in society, but it may have a consequence.
And so most important is the DNA. If you damage DNA, then the cell cannot heal itself. The next step is all the protein and the machinery. So the things that are doing the work, you can think that's our labor force on the construction yard. If the labor force gets damaged, then everything's going to slow down. And if everything slows down, you can imagine, all right, well, we need to be able to put steel beams in, but before there's steel beams, we need some type of foundation. And foundation isn't set yet, but the steel beams are coming. It's going to be a cascade of problems. You have a lot of give on the workers. You can bring in more, you can take some out, you can give them rest. But if you keep pushing it over time, what you see is that they'll shift. And once they shift, your metabolism entirely shifts. So we go 1, 2, 3. DNA most important, proteins, proteostasis, what's maintaining the function in the cell is going to be more stable, but you can shift it. And then the part that's the least effective, or call it the least important, is, for example, the metabolites or the signals that are coming in and out of the cell. So for example, you have, I'll use one very specific one that people get at the blood test, is a creatinine level. So be like, doctor's like, I would like to know your creatinine levels, your kidneys, and your muscle. But I've seen that one go up 17-fold in military personnel. And so when that military personnel went to a civilian doctor, the civilian doctor was absolutely mortified. Now, I am convinced that, had you gone to a military personnel, they have that information, they have the databases. It's not what's taught to, the everyday man, what we have access to. And so you can see, if you measure this and it's super out of range, it's not as alarming, let's say. I can take a look at it and I can say, okay, I'm not worried about these 4. I am a little bit concerned about this one, and this one over here, hey, it tells us that your liver's struggling and we need to do something. You have no problems now, you're not seeing any symptoms, but this is our early warning sign to take action now before things get worse. And so we have that ability now, right? I can do it, others can do it. The only difference is that people aren't trained to do this, right? Like you don't go and just get schooling for this. You have to care to look through papers that didn't publish the specifics, but they have the data. I find it interesting, so I know other people will find it interesting, and I will be that bridge to the interesting piece of information. For example, your heart at one point in time, heartbeat will slow down when you become more fit, and each pump is more efficient. Your heart becomes a more efficient pump, so your heart rate starts coming down. Now that's an adaptation. You have to take that into account when we start examining, call it more and more of these physiological biometrics, or call it, biometrics, biomarkers, just measurements in the body we can take, whether it's delayed or live. And so
you said a couple of things here too that I think we should probably just kind of
And
think about differently. Is it not then easy to get into a little bit of a trap if you use others for proxy? As an example, if you're using athletes as a proxy, then how do you make sure that as you're doing a comparison for a person who is not an athlete, that we're looking for things that could be similar?
And so this is the difficulty. This is the impossible challenge. This is a genuinely impossible challenge because a cross-sectional comparison, right? Comparing me to you, for example, that's okay, right? We have to do that because the only way I know what's going on in here is by looking at what's going on in other people.
Right.
What's very useful is if we have, and so the cross-sectional comparison at the same time as we have the longitudinal of the individual. I have data day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 100. And so obviously not going to follow everyone around with a laboratory kit. And so, the more we get interested in ourselves, maybe you go get a panel of 100 biomarkers from your blood today, and then again in a year, and then 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now. And that, I say, is the most important.
If you enjoyed that clip, click up here and see the full episode. Make sure you also subscribe so you don't miss anything new. And if you want to see other full episodes of Uncommonly Remarkable, just click on this playlist and you'll get everything that you need. Thanks for taking the time, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Uncommonly Remarkable.